I was reading this week about a scientific study that suggests that as we age, we get more susceptible to being victims of scams. Reports are that 1 in 20 older Americans, people over 60, will be scammed this year, and they're going to lose a staggering $3 billion. This has at least something to do with brain science, because key parts of our brains change as we age. For example, the part of our brain that identifies what's happening in our immediate surroundings, or the part of our brain that helps us evaluate the intentions of people nearby and takes other social cues. These areas of our brain decline as we age. And of course, our brains shrink as we get older, so there's less brain mass to detect threats. Brain connectivity also declines as parts of our brains that communicate with each other become less proficient. Older minds tend to be more optimistic minds, and that can lead seniors to too readily let their guards down. And of course, memory impairment can be an issue for many senior citizens. So experts say that you take all that information together, the biology, the brain science, and this can lead senior citizens to be more vulnerable to scams. They might be less vigilant, they're more trusting, and the warning signals that their brains used to send out more frequently when they were younger start to slow down. So what does this imply as a practical matter? Well, first we know that financial abuse is often perpetrated by a trusted relative who's all too familiar with some of the declines in the way senior citizens' minds are working, all too familiar with those vulnerabilities. And then there are the outsiders. Have you or someone you know become familiar with this particular scam? Hello? Hello, Grandma? Well, the person calling on the phone is not the grandchild at all. They're seeking to pause for a second so that the senior citizen will provide some very key data. Jimmy, is that you? Well, now the scammer has gotten the information he wanted, and he moves in. Yes, Grandma, it's Jimmy. I'm in Mexico. He goes on to say that he's had his wallet stolen, and he pleads with Grandma to please send some money so he can come home. All too often, the transfer is made. All too often, the scam is complete. Then there is the tech support scam, where a person who purports to be working for a major technology company will call on the phone and indicate they'd like remote access to a computer. They purport to want that access to conduct some diagnostic tests, but that's not what they want at all. What they really want is to get into that computer and get access to your personal information. And they know that many senior citizens less familiar with the computer might be more receptive to that request. But if the senior or anybody else grants that remote access, their privacy can be at risk. So now that we know that science tells us that senior citizens might be more susceptible to being victims of scams, and that scam artists are well aware of some of those vulnerabilities, what can seniors do? Well, for one thing, seniors can have up-to-date contact lists of their family members, their kids, and their grandkids, so they can verify key information if they get a phone call from a third party. Seniors can go on consumer protection websites to identify the most prevalent current scams and be inoculated to them. Seniors can get financial information. They become much more literate in finance. They can do that by reading or by taking a course. Just the fact of getting that information can stimulate the brain in some very positive ways. And of course, the intrinsic value of the information can help insulate a senior citizen from being scammed. And then, for goodness sakes, seniors, anybody, if you receive an unsolicited phone call with a request for something, an offer for something that, again, you haven't asked for goodness sakes, don't say yes. Either hang up or, at a minimum, talk to a friend or family member before you say yes. Each of us can take important steps to avoid becoming the next scam victim. I'm Mike Feuer, the Los Angeles City Attorney. Thanks for watching.